Hey, Nurses on Fire community. I am so honored to have Katie join us on the podcast today. Hey, Katie, what's up?
Hey, Nasima, how are you? I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you.
I'm doing great, and I would love for you to share about your story as being a nurse, as being along the Camel Ride, and about how you are pursuing financial independence. So let's just start by you just giving a background of who you are and like how you became a nurse. Let's just start there.
Sure. So it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to give you the short version of a long story. So I'm Katie. I'm a 40-year-old single woman. I live in Philadelphia. I'm a nurse. I did not start out as a nurse. I had a long route through going through the arts, first in New York City, working in corporate America. And then I became a nurse. A career changed around age 31 into nursing. That's when I moved to Philadelphia. I went to school and got a job here, and I just stayed because I love it here. And I started my route to financial independence around age 14 when I started investing my babysitting money and my birthday money. And I just lived a starving artist life for a long time in New York, but that surprisingly has paid off pretty well. I'm more than halfway to my FI number, and I actually keep changing my FI number. I want it to be bigger just because I'm paranoid and I want to have more rather than less. Probably from working in the healthcare field, you know how unexpected things can happen and medical care costs are out of control. So I'd rather have more money than not enough.
I love it. I love it. Halfway to your FI number that keeps on increasing. That is so exciting. Oh
Give
my
myself
goodness.
once I reach FI. I want to cut back to part-time once I'm FI. But
So you're not gonna totally retire. I like that. That's kind of like my path too. I'm just like, I could be a nurse forever probably, but
I enjoy what I do, and I have fantastic benefits, so why leave that?
exactly. That's what I tell everybody. Like, you can basically cut down to hardly working at all, still have really good benefits, still be able to contribute to retirement, and not really feel the pressure that other people feel like with going to work, and just to fully be yourself as a nurse. Like, be there for why you're there and not because of a paycheck. And that's goals to me. So, yeah, I love that. I
I
also
totally agree.
love, yeah, say it again.
I said I totally agree.
Yeah, and I also love that you started at 14 investing your babysitting money because that's like me, except I didn't invest it, but I've been making money for a very long time, but I
Right.
too was a babysitter. Um, but do you know Lynn Frere?
I met Lynn. Yeah, she's fantastic. She has a very similar story because she was also
Exactly.
babysitting at 12 like I was.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and she went down to an investment conference and asked her, she said, "I got time on my side. If you were me, what would you do?" And they recommended that she started investing, and then she went to the bank, and she did this all on her own on the bus. And then she went to a bank and said, "How do I invest my money?" And she started investing there all by herself. And I think that that's fantastic. I think she did it at 12, yes. You did it
Yeah,
at 14, but
right.
how did you know to invest when you were 14?
Well, I knew that my parents invested or my dad invested, and I knew that I had a college fund, but I didn't know anything about investing. It was more from my freshman year algebra class in high school that my algebra teacher would teach us through algebraic equations how our money would grow if we invested it over time. And he would show us every single class how our money would grow. And I was completely fascinated by this process. I thought, wow, I can be a starving artist and still be a millionaire if I just invest in my
Wow.
babysitting money. So I went home and I told my dad that I wanted to start investing, and he said, okay. And I had already been socking away money in my closet. And so once he gave me the okay and we agreed to our terms that worked for both of us, I handed over my money and he started investing for me. I told him what I wanted to invest in, which was McDonald's stock. And he said, as long as you don't buy a car or think that you're going to buy a car with this money, I'll let you invest the money. And I said, that's fine because I want to buy a house and a boat. I wanted
And
a
a
beach
boat.
house. I wanted a beach house and a boat.
Oh my God, I love it. But I love the foresight of this teacher that used his, I mean, like, I just remember high school math and remembering like, oh my God, this is so boring. It has no practical application. I remember
Right.
saying that over and over to myself. But if I would have been taught that, as much as I loved money back then, if I
Right.
would have been taught that, oh my God, imagine how my life would have been if I would have invested at the same age as you. But
I know.
dang, like, how genius of him.
Because we all paid attention. Got us all to listen class after class. Because I am not a math person. I hated math. It's my least favorite subject. But I absorbed everything he said during those classes.
Wow. Wow. Now I'm wondering about him. Like, was he a teacher just because he wanted to be a teacher? Because it sounds like if he knew those basic principles, then he would have been doing it himself. So,
Well, he
kudos to
retired
that.
early.
Ah, see, look at that. He fired before we knew what fire was. Okay. I
Exactly.
love it. That is so cool. That is so cool. So, did you just keep on? Okay. So, I guess the question is, since you wanted that boat in that house, that beach house, did you ever get the boat in the beach house?
No, because I changed my mind. Everyone says the best, like what, the best days of the owning the boat are the days that you buy it and the day that you sell it. And I live in a city, like I have no need for a boat. I have nowhere to dock it. I have nowhere to, I don't know, lug it. I have no car. I don't need a beach house or a boat these days, but I'm happy that with that babysitting money, I bought a house in the city. So it was great.
Nice, nice. So you used that money, that investment money, as it grew, you used it to be able to fund where you currently live or just your first house?
Yeah, so where I currently live. And I actually still
Wow.
have a lot of that money. I didn't cash it all out.
Wow, wow. The power of compound interest. Do you remember like how much you were putting away into your accounts like as a teenager?
I don't remember. I actually tried looking for the records because I was a really good record keeper. And I think in one of my purging episodes, I must have tossed those records because I have searched and searched for them. My dad thinks it was $1,000 that I handed over at first when I told him I wanted to start investing. I thought it was less, but he said he remembers it being about $1,000 for my very first
Wow.
investment.
Wow. And from $1,000 to enough to purchase a house in
Right,
Philadelphia.
right,
Nice.
right,
And to keep you or to kick you off like well on your way to
right,
financial independence. That's so, so cool.
right. Because then it went from there. When I think I was 19 or 20, my dad told me to open my first Roth IRA. And so it went back and forth between investing in the Roth and also investing in McDonald's stock. So I continued both of those.
So you just had that one single McDonald's stock.
Right. And then that started at 14. And then from there, like around 19 or 20, I opened my first Roth IRA in a mutual fund.
Okay. So then you started investing into mutual funds. So when did you discover the fire movement and realize that this was like who you were?
I think it was April of 2018 I discovered it. And I discovered it because I was really irritated. I had gone out with my friends. I would say, well, one, I was making a good nurse's salary. And so I kind of got a little reckless with my spending. I was never in debt beyond my student loans and my mortgage, but I was getting a little careless with my spending and, not being as careful as I could be. And I kept going out to eat with my friends a lot. And I was getting really angry because here in Philadelphia, we're known for our food scene. Like if you're a foodie, this is where you want to go. But I was getting disappointed because I felt like so many of the meals that I was blowing all this money on were not very good. Like I was paying more for atmosphere than I was for quality, good tasting food. And I got angry just out of my frustration. I think I Googled something like irritated with restaurants or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I came upon the Frugalwoods blog and I
Ah.
devoured her blog. I thought it was great. And I thought, oh my God, someone else who doesn't feel like they have to spend a lot of money on restaurants all the time. And from there, it just kind of snowballed into me cutting all kinds of expenses. And I think I cut my cell phone bill. I cut cable because I didn't watch cable anyway. I even cut Netflix.
Wow.
Cut so much, and I discovered the travel hacking movement as well because I was spending thousands of dollars per year traveling. And I'm actually a pretty frugal traveler, and I was still spending far more than I should have. I think I spent $7,000 the year before that on traveling. And so that helped cut down those expenses as well.
Wow. Wow. I love it. And I love travel hacking. I wish I knew more about I wish I was better at travel hacking. That's something that I haven't accomplished just yet. But what's your method? Do you like do churning? Like what do you do as far as travel hacking?
Yeah, right now I am churning. I haven't paid for my past few flights. So I didn't pay for my flight to Ireland last year. I didn't pay for my flight to Italy the year before that. And I didn't pay for my flight to Croatia for this spring. Um, and I'm trying to figure out how to do the hotels. So I
Mm.
have to figure out one of the hotel cards as well. But it's probably more churning that I do than getting all of the different freebies. And I'm also good about Airbnb and keeping my costs down.
That's so cool. And for people who don't know about credit card trading, can you just like explain it simply? And then I want to talk about your investment strategy now while I remember to tell you. Yeah.
Sure. For my travel strategy now, I've looked at the was it Travel Rewards 101, I think, with the Choose a Fi guys, and I Google a lot and research that way. I also go into the Facebook groups to see what people are doing. But mostly I do the credit cards for airlines. So I use primarily American Airlines because I live in Philadelphia and we're one of their hubs. And then I also did the Chase Sapphire Preferred card this past year. And those points are what got me my flight to Croatia because I had a difficult time getting that through American Airlines. So I used my Chase
Mm.
points for that one. I'm going to close that one, and I just opened another Chase card. So if anyone is starting with this, you're not really sure, don't open anything yet until you do the rewards research, because you want to
Yes.
get the Chase cards first because they have all their strict rules about the
Yes.
5 cards in 4 months.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at because I had all these other cards. I'm like, dang it, I wish I would have known about this Chase thing. So, and I just recently learned that it's like all credit cards. I thought it was just Chase cards. So, what is it? Is like the 5 and 25 rule?
5 and 24. So you can't open more than 5 cards within 24 months if you're applying for a Chase card. Because
Right.
then
So
they really
that's any card. So you cannot
I
have
think so.
open any credit. You can't open more than 5 credit cards in a 24 in 2 years, basically.
Right. But I
Yeah.
think
So
if
I'm
you use it for your business, they don't count the ones that are business cards, from what I hear. But don't quote me on that.
right, right, and I'm sure that'll change because they're pretty on it.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, yeah. So that's so cool. So yeah, I'm about a year away from when I can do that, I think, or maybe less, maybe 6 months. But yeah, that's my game because I want those chase rewards, and so that's pretty much why I haven't been travel hacking that much. But yes, I am very excited about when I can be like you. So let's talk about your investment strategy. So, since you found the community, have you changed the way you invested? Because I know you started off with your single McDonald's stock and your mutual fund, but in the financial independence movement, we're heavily invested in low cost index funds, and BTSAX is basically our mascot. So, has anything changed with you?
Well, I bought BTSAX. I jumped on that bandwagon. I didn't have that before. Before that, I had oh geez, so my first Roth IRA account was with T. Rowe Price's Emerging Markets Fund because that was doing really well. That was really hot back then. And then I don't think I ever made anything off that. I think after I bought it, of course, it just plunged and it just stayed down for a long time. And then I moved over to, I think, the Vanguard 2045 fund, the target retirement date 2045.
Hmm.
Um, I also had an Artisan International fund, and I rolled that one over into my target 2045. And then I think I still have that one, but I also opened another Roth because you can have multiple Roth accounts, but you can't put in more than $6,000 per year
Right,
total into those accounts. So
right.
I also had the Vanguard Dividend, is it Dividend Growth Investor Fund? I have that. And then after After I got into this movement is when I bought the VTSAX fund. But I have that as an after-tax account because I've already maxed out my Roth IRA. I also maxed out my 403B at work, which is also through Vanguard. So
Nice.
yeah, it's great. So I have low funds or low cost, low fee funds all over the place. And Vanguard is just a great company. I think anyone who lives in the Philadelphia area knows how wonderful they are because we all know people who work there and they rave about Vanguard. Um, yeah, so I'm happy to invest with Vanguard.
Vanguard is there, right?
Right. It's in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Nice. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So do you still have all your McDonald's stock?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, do you still have all your McDonald's stock?
I I sold some of it when I bought my house.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I've only touched it so far to buy my house. And I
I
only
want
took out a portion of it.
I wonder how much percentage wise it's grown since you were 14. Have you looked that up?
No, I wish I could find the records for that too.
I think like there's like a time machine or something. I know Travis as student loan planner always uses this like time machine to look at like how much something was or what something looked like at a certain year. It's called
Right.
the Wayback Machine or something like that.
I
But I'm
remember,
sure that's not too hard to find.
yeah, I don't know. I'd have to call them probably and ask for the records. But I know that when I was 20 years old, I was on study abroad in London. And when I left for study abroad in January 2000, I had enough money in that account for a down payment on a house. And then the economy tanked. I guess it was did the tech bubble burst when I was there? Because that was spring
Hmm.
of 2000. And that money plummeted. And I was like, oh, well, guess I'm not buying a house anytime soon. And then I just continued adding to it after I graduated because I worked all through college anyway, and I would add to that account. I was waitressing and sometimes babysitting too during college.
So you've been through two recessions. So you went through your
Right.
money dropped through the tech bubble, and then it
Right.
dropped with the housing market crash that we recently had.
Yes.
And the thing is that you didn't panic. You didn't pull your money out, right?
No, I think my dad was always adamant about the fact that you don't have to worry about it because it's going to continue going up. And I always knew to buy on sale. That was just drilled into me is to buy on sale.
Man, I wish I had the your dad and your math teacher because you got some pretty solid financial advice. And for the reason why I share that is because, especially like right now, because of the coronavirus and stuff, we're seeing a lot of dips in the market, and people are like, "I'm losing so much money," but honestly, you have not lost money until you pull your money out. You still own the same amount of shares, and when the market comes back up, you still own that. So just ride the waves. Look at any investment chart and you'll know that it'll always increase. And those drops like in 2000 and in 2008 or 18, you'll was that 2000? No, that was 2008, right? They just look like little blips in the chart, but it always grows. So if you guys are feeling a little bit of anxiety right now about how the market is going, maybe, just maybe, turn that
Right.
anxiety into a feeling of this is like a really good opportunity to buy things on sale, just like Katie said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We like buying things on sale at the grocery store and at the clothing store, so why not buy and sell now? The other thing is, unless you're retiring right now, why do you care?
Right. Right. And that's most people. But even if you are close to retirement, you have other ways to access money that until the market corrects, you don't have to tap into those funds necessarily. And so,
Exactly.
it's not a time to panic, really,
Right.
really, really.
I
Unless
agree.
the whole bottom falls out of the economy,
Right.
we'll be okay.
I agree. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like the media is kind of overblowing the coronavirus to an extent. I don't know how bad it's really going to be. No one does. But at the same time, that I think what I read today was that worldwide there are 95,000 cases of coronavirus. And yes, it could continue to spread, but we've had more cases of the flu than we have of coronavirus.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're still going, even though the flu is still here and it kills way more people.
I mean, like, I think we should be more worried about this increase in syphilis out here too. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, right?
there's like a whole bunch of other things we should be concerned about, but because it is a forefront of what's getting a lot of media, I understand that it's causing a lot of people some anxiety, and I understand how it has affected the market. So there are some real things that you should be feeling, but understand that just like anything else out there, this too shall pass and you will be okay. Just wash your hands 20 seconds, soap and water, okay?
I agree. And don't share pens. I'm huge on not sharing pens, and I always alcohol my phone. Like I always
That I
wipe it with
love that.
alcohol. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't
I
share
love that. Do
pens.
not share pens, you guys. Do not share pens, and just implement a new handshake going on. Elbows, feet tap, you know, all of that great stuff. So let's switch gears and talk about nursing and how you feel like being a nurse has helped you on your path to financial independence.
Um, well, first of all, one of the things I love about nursing is the unlimited earning potential to an extent. Because if you work in the hospital, you can just continue to pick up shifts. I worked, I can't even tell you how much overtime I used to work, and I paid off my student loans. I added more money to my down payment, to my emergency fund, um, traveled a lot. Like I said, I spent $7,000 in 1 year just on traveling, and that was with, I think that was all overtime money.
Wow.
Yeah, because I used to live at the hospital. I would easily work 14-hour days on a routine basis. I don't know how I did it. I don't want to do it anymore. But
No, I've been there. I've been there. But yeah, being a nurse, I feel like is like having a blank check. And then I also like that you said you have access to a 403B. Do you also have a 457?
no, I don't. I just had the 403B.
Oh, that sucks. Well, within your 403B, because your 403B is through Vanguard, I also had worked at a hospital that's retirement funds were through Vanguard. I noticed that, the expense ratio for VTSAX for us, like just through a brokerage account is what 0.03% now.
Right.
So the equivalent inside my Vanguard funds for my work was 0.013.
Wow.
Do you have that?
Incredible. As far as I know, I don't. I'll have to look into that. But I know for my other 401k through my old corporate America job, the expense ratio in that one is, I think, 0.89% if you have it just through the Fidelity company itself. But because
Mm,
mine's through my corporation, it's a much, much lower rate. I think it's like 0.04.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I was surprised that within and this was because it was like a big hospital conglomerate, big hospital
Right.
thing but like I was surprised, yeah, and it's called it's called Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Trust or something crazy like that, but it's the same thing as
Right.
VTI, VTSAX. It's a total stock market index fund. But yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna just leave my money there because the expense ratio is so low. And so even though I'm not working there anymore, I decided not to roll my funds out because of that. But I was wondering if because you have Vanguard too, you had that. But oh man, but check and see if they have a lower expense ratio one.
I am going to check. I'm curious now.
Okay, so being a nurse, you have all the opportunities to work basically as much as you want to. You can do geo arbitrage. You have the 403B. So do you have a Roth option also? A Roth 403B?
I just learned about that last week when I spoke to Vanguard.
Nice, nice. So would it benefit you to do the Roth option or just a regular 403B?
I haven't figured that out yet. They said I can do 50-50 if I want, and I haven't done the numbers to figure out what it is that I want to do. So I'm still working on that.
Okay. So for everybody out there, it's going to depend on basically how much you're taking home, if that's going to benefit you. So basically, just a traditional 403B, you get the pre-tax deductions on your paycheck. But when you go to pull that money out in retirement, you're going to get taxed on it. But with the Roth, it's after taxes. So after you get after they calculate how much you get paid, then they subtract the retirement contribution from there. So you're paying taxes up front. When you go to take out your money in retirement, you're not taxed then. So, the way I think that you should have accounts that have both the pre-tax and the after-tax benefit. To it in the way that I do that, because I'm such a high income earner in California, it's going to benefit me to max out my 401, my traditional like 403B I have too. But I have a 457 as well. So I do like a traditional 403B, 457, max those out. And then I go back out and then I just do a Roth IRA on the side on my own. And so that's how I take advantage of having those benefits of not being taxed after. So not all my accounts aren't taxable at retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I have the balance of that too, because I have the Roth IRA, but then I have the traditional 401k or 403b.
Right. So people need to look at that. And basically, if you're paying a lot in taxes, you probably need to be contributing more into a pre-tax account.
Right.
So just look at those things. So what advice do you have for nurses that want to do better financially overall?
I would say one, cut your spending and find the things that you don't need. Excuse me. Find the things you don't need to spend on. Do you really need cable? Do you really need an expensive cell phone plan? Do you need to constantly go shopping? Do you need to go out to eat all the time? Can you find a cheaper option for going out? Can you do happy hour meals instead of full, full $26 plates? Do you need to have 5 glasses of wine or 3 glasses? Can you get away with 1 glass of wine at dinner instead? There's also a thing called the Buy Nothing Project, which I found through the Frugal Woods blog, and I love it. I've gotten so many free things off of there. I've given away things that I have in my house, because the wonderful thing about Buy Nothing is people will come to your house and take things away.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. So if you're on Facebook, I would suggest finding your local neighborhood Buy Nothing project. You can't buy or sell anything. Everything is within a sharing community. So you get to know your neighbors, and you have to give everything away. You can't trade anything. It's just giving everything and then getting to know your neighbors and creating more of a community. So it's a really nice project. Other than that, once you start cutting your expenses, start socking that money away into your investments. And like we've talked about, go for the low fee index funds just to get started. And if you eventually want to dabble in individual stocks, you can, but I would say to start with just the low fee interest funds, low fee index funds. I can't talk.
You're doing great. Yeah, I love it. But the thing is just get started investing. And even if you don't have the best investment accounts right now, don't beat yourself up about it, and don't not invest because you're doing analysis paralysis. Like, just it's really about the time in the market and not timing the market or not having the perfect investment. Like you said, like a target date fund, like usually your employer defaults you into, will be just fine as long as you continuously contribute to it. So yeah, I really love that advice.
I agree. Just start somewhere.
Yes. So what advice do you have for new nurses or people who are interested in going into nursing?
I would say for new nurses, stick it out. It's a tough field. It's easy to get burned out. So if you are picking up a lot of overtime to pay off your student loans or to pay off any other debt, keep in mind that it's really easy to get burned out, to get exhausted. So I would say pace yourself with the overtime, because I definitely burned myself out at one point. And then just keep at it. I think it's a tough field. You'll be beaten up physically, mentally, and emotionally. But just be aware of that. And also, my biggest piece of advice, I think, is be aware of body mechanics.
Yes.
Because I hurt myself in my shoulder 3 years ago, and I am still struggling to get over that pain on a daily basis. So be very aware of body mechanics. I was out of work for, I don't know, like a month or so healing, and then I went back on early return to work, doing easier work, like office work, for another month. But be aware of that, because you have one body and you're going to have injuries, and you don't want to destroy your body. And the older you get, the harder it is to recover.
Yes, I always tell people that, listen, you only have one body. You got to treat it good. You got to treat it good,
Exactly.
especially at work. You have to be aware. Yes, yes.
And then for people considering nursing, I would say go into it for the right reasons, knowing it's going to be a hard job mentally, physically, emotionally. You'll have long hours. You're going to be away from your family on holidays and weekends, and even overnight sometimes. So be aware of that. There's great flexibility in nursing. You can go and get a job anywhere at any time. Sometimes that first job is really hard to get because most places want nurses with experience. But if that's what you want to do, go for it. It's a wonderful field. If you get bored in one area, you can move on to the next area,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
the best parts.
Yes, yes, I love the flexibility in nursing. And guess what? You don't have to be at a hospital. You can work from home. You can do research. You could do, it's just so, it's limitless. It's
Right.
limitless. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. So for people who want to reach out to you and follow you, how can they connect with you, Katie?
Sure, they can find me on Twitter. They can also find me on my blog, which is alongthecamelride.com. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on there. I have a group page, and then I also have my own page. My personal page is Katie Camel, and obviously I'm an anonymous blogger, so you don't have pictures of me on there, and I don't use my real name. But my real first name is Katie. You can message me. You can always email me at alongthecamelride@hotmail.com.
Love it. And before we wrap up, just tell people how you came up with that name, Along the Camel Ride.
Sure. So I was in Morocco during one of my many adventures, and I was getting onto a camel in Tangier along the coast. And it's a third world country, so their standards for safety are not up to par with ours. But my seat was not fully secured, and so as I was being raised up by this huge camel, I started rocking back and forth, and I was terrified that my seat was going to unlatch and fall off, and that I would sustain some kind of traumatic head injury in this third world country. I wanted to be medevac back to my home country, to my hospital. Um, but it was scary just being on this huge camel and rocking back and forth in my seat. But I equate that to life in many respects because life is unexpected. We don't ever know what's going to happen. You do rock back and forth, you go forward, you go backwards. You never know what's going to happen. And the same thing applies to this financial journey. You don't ever know what's going to happen. But prepare and hope for the best, knowing that you could always have the worst happen.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's a great place to wrap up. So thank you so much, Katie, for joining us on the Nurses on Fire podcast. I know nurses will learn so much, and they're probably just as envious of your dad and your math teacher as I am.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Nasima. It was great talking with you. I really enjoyed it.
Most definitely. So if you guys are interested in learning more about Katie, make sure you check out all the places along the Camel Ride. Check out Katie Camel. And with that, have a great one.
You too.
Okay.